Hello, and thank you again for joining us on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with me, Errol Lawson. I'm an author, I'm an entrepreneur, and a minister based in Birmingham in the UK. And my passion is to raise the next generation of leaders from all around the world. And so the podcast is really aimed at giving you the tools, the insights, the wisdom you need to move to your next level or realize your calling in God. Throughout the series of podcast episodes, I'm bringing to you some of the top international, inspirational leaders, influential leaders from all walks of life, whether they are ministers, whether they are authors, they are marketplace leaders, whether they are business owners, business leaders, all to kind of inspire you and encourage you to fulfill your God-given destiny. Please, can I ask you to simply subscribe to the iTunes page and just subscribe to the podcast. And if you're on Android, subscribe to it on Stitcher. And if you want to see the show notes from any of the previous podcasts, go to the website, which is www.errollawson.com/podcast. And you can find out there the favorite books of our interview guests, their show notes, their websites, their contact details. It's all there on the podcast page on www.errollawson.com/podcast. All right, guys, so thanks for listening. Tune in, enjoy the show. I hope you're blessed. And feel free to reach out to myself if you like at errol@errollawson.com. If you want to be a podcast guest or you just want to ask some questions about the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to our podcast today with me, Errol Lawson, and my special guest today, Dr. Kofi Osei-Kusi. He's a life coach, he's a speaker, he's a consultant, and he's deeply passionate about young people. He serves as the executive president of the Osei-Kusi Foundation, which is a development and resource organization providing mentoring, coaching, scholarships, leadership, and rural outreaches to support the youth population. He has a spontaneous gift and flair with young people, which together always create an unforgettable experience for his young audience, whom he encourages to rise to their full potential. For 2 decades now, he has been involved in training and raising hundreds of young leaders through leadership seminars, training programs, and one-on-one coaching, as well as through his personal development books, 14 of which are now in print. And Dr. Osei-Kusi brings his experience from leading international firms to strengthen the performance of corporate bodies, groups, and churches in areas such as wisdom, leadership, teamwork, human resources, and money and finances. He's authored over 14 books now. He's a weekly columnist for the Business and Financial Times newspaper in Ghana and a regular guest on television talk shows, including the Wisdom Filler, which is a weekly TV broadcast produced by the Osei-Kusi Foundation for the Youth. Until December 2011, he worked with the Australian High Commission as a consular, passports and administrative manager. And now he serves on the boards of a number of organizations based in Accra in Ghana. He's happily married to his wife, Jackie, and they're blessed with 2 lovely and lively children. Dr. Osei-Kusi, Kofi Kusi, Doctor, my friend, my brother, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you, Errol.
It's an illustrious biography there. Please just first of all, fill in any gaps, anything I've missed out, anything I've said incorrectly, and give us a little glimpse into your world and what you're up to right now.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, I think that's fairly okay, except that I'm also passionate about God.
Amen.
It's been looking good on this side. As you know, the close to half of the population of Africa are young people. So it's a lot of work for us here to ensure that we're raising a quality human capital for the continent of Africa, and that's the work that we feel we're called to do. So we're doing it to the best of our efforts and to ensure that young people are well coached and mentored and have good goals, and the gift that is inside of them is brought out. So there's a lot of work here.
Awesome. I've had a chance to have worked with you in Ghana for a few times now, for a few years, and I've seen the great work you're doing in Ghana, the lives you're impacting, just the work of your ministry. It's amazing to see. And I'm proud to know you, man. And I know also you've not always, like you said in your biography there, you've not always been involved in church-based ministry. Tell us a story, if you will, please, about what you were doing beforehand and how you kind of transitioned into what you're doing now.
Okay, so about 20 years ago, in 1995, one of my close friends started a youth leadership training organization. We had just finished high school, getting ready for university, and he brought up this idea and he started it. And I was there to support him. But after a year, he had to leave for university in the States. And so he handed over the group for me to lead. It's a group called Chosen Generation. And the focus was to raise leaders for our country. And so for the past 20 years, we've been running this organization. And sometimes 3 times or 5 times a year, we run this leadership conference for young people, for about 100 to 200 young people at a time, bringing speakers and putting them into groups and challenging them to think differently and to have integrity as leaders. And so we've been running that for 20 years, and we've had thousands of young people come through these programs. And by investing in these young people over these years, we as leaders have been impacted, and we've built our own leadership capacity, and we've seen many of the people that have come through these programs go forward to become leaders. Like one of them I like to refer to as become a millionaire, with about 7 companies, including mining companies and so on, and financial services companies. We picked him up when he was around 15 years, and today, I think he was about less than 15 years, and today, he's a great leader. Mm-hmm. We've got many others that have come through these. So for me, looking back to that, I thought, wow, if within a couple of years we've been able to raise leaders when we were working and schooling on the side, I thought if I gave my life to this kind of calling full time, we should be able to multiply the results, that we've seen, through that leadership organization. So that's how come I got into the foundation, because when we were doing that leadership organization, I was schooling and then I was working on the side. But with OKF right now, I'm sort of doing that full time, about 90% of my time. And I spend about 10% of my time, serving as a youth pastor at Trinity Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm. So at one point you were working whilst doing this on the side, and then you felt the urge to go into this full time.
Correct.
Was there any resistance in that? Because that's not always an easy choice to make, to go from being bivocational. You're in a career, you're in a corporate environment, you're doing well, you're successful. Was there any resistance at that time?
Well, looking back, I don't know how I was able to make that decision. Because that was one of the craziest decisions you could make, when you have a wife and you have 2 children and you got mouths to feed and you're going full time into ministry. It was a major step of faith. But of course, that wasn't the first time I had taken a crazy move in life. I've made a lot of crazy moves, so okay. I don't know how I did it, but I decided to follow my heart. I believe that the ultimate thing in life is purpose. And you need to know your purpose, and you got to be willing to die for what you believe. And so I was quite willing to take the risk and follow my call, and I couldn't be more grateful today. Wow. It's been awesome. It's been everything about my life has changed over the last 4.5 years since actually about 4 years, 2011 July, I resigned from the High Commission, and everything about my life has changed.
That's amazing. Guys, we're speaking to national and international leaders, and, the impact that Kofi, that he's making right now. But he said that he began with purpose, a sense of calling, destiny, and being willing to do whatever it takes to lay down your life to fulfill that purpose. That's the level of sacrifice it takes for us to really live a life of purpose and fulfilling our destiny. Kofi, I know you've been in leadership for a while, but has there been like a turning point or a light bulb moment along your journey that's been significant? There was a point where you actually were going one way, then you got a revelation and you went another. Can you tell us that story?
Well, there's been several experiences. In my leadership journey. It's hard to point to just one of them. So I think the key thing it's about knowing who you are and living for others. I think the discovery of, trying to lay down my life for others, I think that is life transformational. I'm in a state of my life where I really love it because I've moved away from living for myself to living for the world, living for generations, like being a prize for another generation. That is no longer about me, but it's about the world. I believe these are the people that have changed the world. And I think that, we all have to make a choice in life. And the choice that we have to make is whether we're going to make a little impact or a mega impact. And if a young person out there and you're looking to make a mega impact, you're not just thinking about, the house that I can build for me and my family, or the house I can buy for myself, and the cars I can drive. And you're thinking about what's going to happen in the next 100 years, what's going to happen in the next 200 years. How can I impact generations? Then you make those major decisions. So for me, I had to think about that. And then I decided that I'm not going to live for myself, nor just for my family, nor just have a good, happy home and happy family. I'm willing to pay a price for a certain generation. And that has changed things, and even financially, that has changed things. It's not about me. I won't say too much money, but I get money. And money comes through my hands very regularly, and it doesn't come to stay with me. It just comes through, and I'm paying people's school fees, and I'm investing in people, and I'm blessing people. Like every day I'm writing checks for people. Look, and I have needs and I have things I want, but I've crossed over to a point where I'm living for others. I'm living for a generation. I'm thinking about impacting the long term. So I don't know if you're getting me, but there's a point in your life where you begin to live for others. And I think that the great champions that have walked the face of the earth walked that path. People like Dr. Martin Luther King, they didn't live for themselves. They lived for a generation. They're willing to die for something. Even if they couldn't see the vision materialize, they're willing to lay down their lives for a generation that was yet, to be born. And people like, Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi and all those guys. I mean, I look up to those people, and I want to leave a legacy. And so I've moved beyond me. I've moved beyond my personal needs to the needs of a long-term generation.
Wow. Awesome. And what do you think the lesson there is? What's the lesson, do you think?
Well, the lesson there is the world needs leaders. Look at the impact of the leaders that I mentioned, their names, the people I mentioned, whose names I've mentioned, and look at the impact they made. And the fact that if you live for yourself, you're going to make a little impact. But if you live for a generation, you're going to make a generational impact.
It's great. And there's another thing that I hear there as well. There's almost like there's levels to this thing, right? So we've got to first of all get ourselves right. There's that self-leadership level.
That's right.
It's our first stage of development and growth. And then there's being able to secure and provide for our family. And we get to that level, we sustain that level. And then there's a part that I hear you're saying now that you've moved beyond that level now. That's taken care of. It's now I'm serving the world, the nations. My life is not my own. My life is a seed. But I know that even if my life is a seed, my family are taken care of. My kids are taken care of. I haven't got to worry about that. I've built myself to a place where I can now serve freely, give of myself and my time, my resource, my money to make a great and lasting impact in this generation. I love that.
Let me add something to that. It doesn't mean that you complete providing for your family or you get your family to a certain level before you move forward.
Sure.
These steps are steps of faith. They are not material steps. Like, okay, so at this stage, I've got like 100,000 in my account. You can look after my family. So let me move forward to the next stage. These are stages of faith. These are stages of faith. For me, one of the greatest keys on leadership is faith. It's faith. It's faith. So these are stages of growth in faith. As your faith gets stronger, you're able to move forward.
Good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that. These are stages of growth in faith, not in material wealth or possession, but at each level our faith increases, our capacity grows. Amen. So what's been your biggest challenge in leadership so far?
Biggest challenge in leadership, it's sacrifice. It's sacrifice because true leadership will cost you a lot. It costs you a lot of personal sacrifice.
So can you think of it as a story of a time when you experienced that challenge?
Well, particularly in the area of my calling, which is partly in the helps ministry, running charity, taking care of people and paying their school fees, and I'm telling you, many times the people I help them, some of them have not been very grateful, and some of them have come back, to really give you a pain, like let's say one blind girl that I take care of, one of the several, young people we look after on our scholarship scheme, and there are times you're giving your little money, everything you have to make sure this person's school fees is paid. And so perhaps they don't have, too much extra to look after themselves. Mm-hmm. And then, they come back and it's like, you give me a little money, it's not enough. And you're not taking care of me as if I'm your own child and that sort of thing. And you go like, God, look, I'm doing my best for you. I don't expect that from you at all. And so, particularly in the area of my call, sacrifice, it costs you a lot. And many times you're sacrificing all that you have for your call. And it's not just financially, but also in the area of time and the area of travel and effort. And it costs you a lot. It costs a lot. And I think that's the price. That's the price. It costs you learning. Many times you're up in the night, you go and speak and people think you've done a great talk, but they don't know that you have to burn the midnight, oil to learn and to study. So the biggest challenge of leadership is sacrifice. You need to sacrifice to build your capacity. You need to sacrifice in giving. You need to sacrifice in preparing yourself. You need to sacrifice, your time and your energy and all of that. Unless you're willing to sacrifice even yourself for the vision, you will not be able to be a great leader.
Wow. And at this stage in your leadership journey, how do you now define success?
Well, success is very simple. At every stage of life, I think success is the same. Success is the progressive achievement of God-given goals, which is connected to purpose. Okay, so knowing my purpose and, setting goals that are in line with my purpose at every stage. Success is when, if you like, taking off the boxes of the goals that I have set in line with my purpose. So this year, my goal is to, probably add 5 more kids onto my scholarship scheme, is to speak to 20, universities, students in 20 universities, is to do A, B, C, and D, is to, start building our vocational facility, for street kids and all of that. So success is when I'm ticking off the boxes. I'm not successful if I'm not progressing towards my goals.
Okay. And I know I think it was John Maxwell said that success is hidden in your daily routine. What does the first 90 minutes of your day typically look like?
Okay. So Errol, I'm not a very conventional person. I don't fit into a lot of rules. I'm a bit of a crazy guy. I don't always start my days the same way. I don't think I fit into all the nice rules out there. Mm-hmm. I don't start all my days in the same way. Many times I'm working in the night. So sometimes I wake up, quite late. I'll go to bed maybe like early at dawn and then wake up late. But normally, whenever I wake up, I'll spend the first couple of minutes praying. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do invest a bit in my prayer, and sometimes it's not the aggressive, active praying. I'm just lying down quietly and I'm thinking, praying. Mm-hmm. I'm thanking God for my life, for my family. So when I wake up, the first bit is praying, and it's just Thanksgiving prayers. It's not really asking God for anything. Most of the time, it's just Thanksgiving. And I don't know if there will be a question that will connect me to talk to you about Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving has been one of my secrets to coming this far in life. It's been a powerful tool. In fact, my article in the Business and Financial Times today is entitled "The Amazing Power of Thankfulness."
Powerful.
So I spend, the first about half an hour in prayer and in prayer of Thanksgiving. That's how it's like. I'm just grateful for everything, for my wife, my family, my house, my environment, my dog, my nanny, my staff at work, my team at church, the money in my account or whatever I have, my dress, the bed I'm lying on. I'm just looking for the little things around me and say, Lord, I thank you. So I start my day on a very positive note. Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving just brings you energy. It gets you to focus on the right stuff of life, or the right aspect of life. And so it just washes away all the lack and all the deficiencies in life when you just focus on the right side of life.
Hallelujah. So what have been the key habits that have contributed to your success up to now?
First of all, my values, because my values drive me. My values keep me on track. I think my values have been the most powerful force of pushing me, because there's so many values out there. There's so many things that are trying to distract you, and so many things that you want to do. And, one of my key habits is basically sticking to the values that I have set for myself. Now, before I talk about values, let me talk about my vision in life. And so I have my vision written down, which is to invest in young people and to leave a legacy.
How did you discover that was your vision?
It's a process. It was a long process. I can't remember everything, but I've been working on that for years and years and years, thinking about what my passions are, thinking about what my gifts are, thinking about what other people think I'm good at. So I remember years ago, probably like 7 years or so ago, I did like a 360 degree, assessment. I got people around me to tell me what they think I'm good at and what they think I'm passionate about and what they think I'm doing so well. So I did that one. I've done a couple of personality tests. I've started to look at myself, and then I've asked myself, hey, when I'm dead and gone, what do I want to be remembered for? So I've done all of those things, put them together, and concluded that what I really want to leave behind is quality leaders, raising leaders and investing.
That's great, man.
Yeah, so that's how I came up with it.
And so your key habits, so you see your vision, identifying your vision and sticking to that. Your values was the first thing you said?
Yes. So my vision, focusing on my vision, it's a habit. Like just focusing on my vision, writing the vision down, looking at it every day, because there's so many things to distract you. So just focusing on my vision is a habit. And then my values, includes thanksgiving, includes wealth creation. I believe in the power of money. I believe in wealth. I need money to do what God has called me to do. And I need to expand my level of wealth. And there are ways I do that. So I'm consistently studying about money, because the level of your finances is directly related to the level of your understanding of how money works. So, I value money. I believe in creating wealth.
Can I just capture that? So the level of your finances is directly proportional to your level of understanding as to how money works.
Exactly.
Can you expand, share on that for us, please?
Right. Look, money is complicated. If money was easy to get, everyone would be rich, because everybody wants money, but only few people understand how money works. Money gets to people who understand how it works. Money doesn't come to you by accident. It doesn't just come to you because you're praying. It comes to you because you know how it works. There's a way money works, so you got to be able to catch it and play the game of money, according to the rules.
Tell us, how does it work?
How does it work? There's several ways money works. Money works through investments, savings and investments. You must learn to save, a certain percentage of your money. Every little money that comes to you, must learn to save it. Unless you're saving money, you're going to be broke. That's one of the ways. So there are many ways. Savings, investments, giving is one of the most powerful ways money works. Now you're not going to cross into the thousands unless you're willing to give 1,000 away. You're not going to move into 2,000 unless you're willing to give 2,000 away. That's one of the ways it works. You must respect money. One of the ways money works, you must respect it. You must treat money right. Anything you disrespect in life will move away from you. Anything you respect will come to you. So treat money right. There's several ways. It works through, setting up businesses, understanding, the power of being an entrepreneur. Just like you wrote in your book, on teampreneurship. As a young person, you must study the principle of entrepreneurship. No matter your career, add a bit of entrepreneurship to it. If you're a teacher, learn to be a good entrepreneur. If you're a doctor, add entrepreneurship to it. If you're a pastor, add entrepreneurship to it. It is the way of what I call entrepreneurship is next to godliness. I don't say cleanliness is next to godliness. I say entrepreneurship is next to godliness.
That's great. Just another soundbite I want to capture there for the listeners, that whatever you respect will come to you. Whatever you disrespect will move itself away from you. Really important to note that. Kofi, what's your biggest weakness?
My biggest weakness? Good question. Honestly, I think it's going to sound a bit controversial, because I know that and I'm working on that. My biggest weakness is discipline. You need to be very disciplined to be successful. Growing up, I didn't like to be controlled, and I don't like a lot of rules. So it's a weakness and it's a strength at the same time, but there's a weakness bit in it. I mean, I admire people who can stick to, every single rule, and they can walk in a straight line. I can do that. I can do that. Sometimes that's a challenge. Sometimes I've got to push myself hard. So if I have to do something consistently, I've got to work very hard on that, because to be successful, you need to maintain certain habits. And I didn't stick to many rules. So sometimes sticking to certain habits is tough. But to a large extent, wherever it's really critical, I got to push myself and drive myself to stick to certain habits, like say, read my Bible every day. Look, I don't know. I think that's important. I won't make that a critical rule for everybody. I think it's important. I used to do that years ago. I used to push myself to do that every time. Now I don't do that like every day, and it sounds funny and crazy, but I'm being honest with you. And I think sometimes leaders need to be vulnerable and honest. You can start before people and say, do this, do this, do that. But you don't do it every day. I mean, I don't read my Bible every day. I would love to, but I'm not able to do that every day, even though I meditate on the word every single day, whether the Bible is in front of me or not. But I'm trying to say that you need to be very disciplined to be successful. But growing up, I didn't grow up very, very disciplined. But I've worked very hard in that area to stick to many rules, and I won't come this far without some level of discipline. But that's a weakness.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your biggest strength?
My biggest strength is to inspire people and to lead people. I think that, to some extent, is a bit of a natural gift to some extent, and I've also developed that. But I've been blessed to be surrounded with some of the finest people on earth. By the grace of God, here in Ghana, our profile and impact is increasing, exponentially. And it's not just because of me, it's because I have the grace to lead a team. I've got teams that are working on various projects. I've got a team that's running the foundation. I've got a team that is running our leadership organization. I've got a team that is running our church ministries and all of that. And being able to lead various organizations at the same time is a function of leadership. And I think that is one of my greatest strengths.
Do you have any mentors, or who have been your significant mentors?
I do have several mentors. I have mentors for different areas of my life.
Yeah. Who have been your most significant mentors in your leadership journey?
In my leadership journey, my key mentors have been far away. So it's been people like, Dr. Miles Monroe.
Okay.
I learned the power of purpose from him, and I've read many of his books and listened to many of his tapes for about 15 years. So yeah, he's been a major inspirer for me. Martin Luther King, Mandela, and so on. But face to face, I have Emmanuel Day-to-me here in Ghana, who's been a great inspiration for me. He's been my mentor, especially the area of running a foundation. So he's been a great inspirer to me, and I really love him. For church ministry, my senior pastor is my mentor. So I look up to him, Pastor Kingsley. I have a married mentor. So for various areas of my life, I do have mentors.
So what was the best single piece of advice you received from Emmanuel Day-to-me and from Pastor Kingsley?
Emmanuel Day-to-me has been faith. It's been faith. It's been faith that the journey that we're on, we're only going to succeed on the power of faith. And so I regularly feed my faith when I get to the point where I'm a bit discouraged or overwhelmed with challenges. I step back and I would play and listen to a lot of messages on faith. A lot of messages from, say, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, David Oyedepo, all of these guys that are doing amazing things. I would play their messages and listen to them over and over again, and it's like my batteries get charged. So yes, on faith from Day-to-me, and for Pastor Kingsley, it's been patience. It's been patience and integrity. It's patience and integrity. Integrity, it's being truthful, being honest, keeping your word, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I've learned from him.
That's great. And what was holding you back from going into leadership?
Holding me back from going into leadership, I mean, that would be many years ago. I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know what I was here for. But after volunteering for my friend for about a year and, taking over the group, once I started seeing results, once I was serving and started seeing results, I began to get encouraged and to see where I'm good at and to begin to do that more. And as a result, I think I've overcome that, but that was years ago. After that time, I'm not scared of leadership. I mean, I would take things on. Yeah.
Awesome. So that barrier is just not knowing our purpose. But we often say here, the miracle happens on the way. Not where we're stationary, but as we're serving, as we're using our gifts to serve somebody else's vision often, we begin to discover our strengths, our passions, what it is that we're good at, and our purpose begins to be revealed to us over time. Awesome. What's the one thing you're most fired up about right now?
Well, I'm excited about the fact that we're moving into our new office premises. Where we started 4 years ago with a single little office, and a little over a year later, we had a second office, and I'm happy to say that we're moving to a much bigger premises. Next week we're moving to much bigger premises as a foundation. Where we can do a lot more work. So I'm really excited about that. Mm-hmm. But in terms of mission, I'm really fired about two projects that we're working on as a foundation. Mm-hmm. We're putting up a library, for one of the biggest prisons we have here in Ghana. So the prisoners, particularly the young people, whilst you're serving a time in prison, can educate their minds.
That's great.
And secondly, I'm really fired up about expanding radically our scholarship scheme. So we have a scholarship scheme that is supporting blind young people and deaf young people through school. We have about 11 of them in school right now. And we have amazing. The biggest girl, at the University of Cape Coast in third year. She's studying Bachelor of Arts in Education. And we got several kids, in the high school, in the senior high school or junior high school. And we've got some who are deaf and cannot hear. And I remember a few months ago, we brought them for a tour, took them to the airport. They're blind and they can't see anything, but they went to the airport and they were asking so many intelligent questions. We took them to the biggest mall here in Accra, the Accra Mall, and to do a shopping for them and all of that. And look, I'm really fired about these kids because I have a belief that one of these days, in the next 7, 10, 15 years, I'm going to have some of these kids on our scholarship scheme become ministers of state, become international, people. So I'm really fired about them. And I want to expand that radically. So I'm doing everything. We're running consultancy services and all of that to generate money so I can pay for more blind kids to go to school. Yeah, that's the most exciting thing.
Awesome. Yeah. And is there a book or resource you'd recommend for a leader or entrepreneur out there?
Maybe the first thing that comes to mind. Is it The Richest Man in Babylon? I think
by George Lawson.
Yes, that one. Mm-hmm. I'll recommend that. I think it's a great book. It's a great book on entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Mm-hmm. It's got old principles in it, but of course, the other books that brings those principles are life better. But I would recommend that.
Brilliant. Just as a parting word, I guess. First, tell us where you can find out more about you, and let's give us a parting word of wisdom for our listeners. Well, encourage people out there to visit our website, www.Osei-Kusi Foundation, all one word, .com. So it's www.Osei-Kusi You can also find Osei-Kusi Foundation on Facebook and the other social media platforms. My parting word of wisdom is don't live for yourself. Find your purpose in life and lay down your life for a generation. I believe in a group of people called the never diers. They never die. Wow. They die and go, but they're still alive. They're still alive in our hearts. They're still alive in our minds. I like Mother Teresa. She said, if you cannot feed 1,000 people, just feed one person. Mother Teresa never dies. She lives in our hearts because she laid down her life for the poor people in Calcutta. Wow. I believe in people who lay down their lives for a generation, lay down their lives for others. Wow. And those people never die. That's the sort of person I want to be. I don't want to pass away and, 3 people cry and 20 people cry, and after a while, everyone forgets about you. I want people to write books about me. Come on. I want to pass away and, the young people are mentioning my name and, I have inspired my world. I've saved my generation and I've lived a full life. I want to live well and die well. And I want to serve my world. So that's what I want to leave for people. Fantastic, challenge people to go forward and lay down your life. And love it, my brother. Man after my own heart, man. I tell you, I'm inspired here, man. Iron is definitely sharpening iron today. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. You've got a very busy schedule. I'm here in Birmingham in the UK. You're over in Accra in Ghana. And technology has made it possible. God has made it possible for us to have this conversation today. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you, my brother.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast today. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope you were inspired, you were lifted, you were encouraged. Hey, please remember to go to the iTunes page and subscribe right there, or check out the show notes from today's show at www.errollawson.com/podcast. And please share with your friends. Let somebody else be inspired. Thank you for listening. See you next week.